Okay, in this class, we're going to look at two letters, GH, together. So the one thing that's easy about English is the grammar. The structure really, 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 really is easy. The one thing that makes English such a pain in the ass is trying to pronounce words, because English is not a language that you can learn phonetically. If you study English at home in a book by yourself, guaranteed you will end up pronouncing 50% of it wrong by the time you listen to someone speak or engage with a person. So GH is kind of another example of this. So we look at this sound in two ways. So let's look at the first way, where the sound of these letters is absolutely silent. So when we look at the word through, we pronounce it like this, through. When we look at the word though, the same thing. We pronounce it like this, though, or maybe like this, or that would be thou. No, that'd be though. The same thing with thought. Three words that almost, except one letter, look identical. So again, thought will be pronounced more like this. So this GH is silent. Where else do we see that? Well, night. We see that in light. We see that in sight. Oh my God, Kean's rhyming. We see this in height. We see this in might. When we talk about I might go to the party, I might not go to the party. We see this in holy shit, you're right. Exactly. So here we see that the GH sound is silent. It's almost like this. Right. The same thing with height. Height and sight. If you didn't have the GH, you might put a T on the end there to create that kind of sharp, very bright sound at the end of the T's there. So sight, it's very bright at the end. So that's it. That GH has no sound at all. It's just in there because, my daughter, for example, her name is Nina. And we spell it, the Gaelic way, because I'm Irish. Why not? So the GH in that is silent, and just to create problems for her here in Brazil. That's simply that. Then let's look at the other version of GH, where we'll look at a sound that's very different. So when we look at these words here, what else we got here? This one, and this one, and we can look at some participles as well. All right, so when we look at this sound, what is this word? It's not co. This sound is cough. So here, the GH at the end of the word creates an FF sound. So here we have rough, rough. And look at it did even to the O. In this one, ka. In this one, ra. So even in this, it's not predictable. We can't say, well, it's always, if it's cough, then this is rough, and this is tough, and this is laugh. No. Each sound is its own, or each word, sorry, is its own unique sound. That's what makes, as well, English so much fun. You have to practice it. If you want to become an expert in the sounds, then you have to engage. You have to talk to people. You have to listen. You have to go out looking for that sound in nature. If you like birds and you want to find birds, well, you have to get yourself some binoculars and go into the woods and spend time looking for birds. If you want to find vocabulary in English and you want to understand it, it's the same thing. You have to go looking for conversations, either watching movies, listening to audiobooks, which, is a good version of, literature is the best way, fiction, to get vocabulary. Maybe like your technical books, and you kids today with your cult of success are all in love with your self-help books, which is basically one book just reworded with shitty analogies 100,000 different ways, as if that person was the first person to think and to discover that way to understand the world. But fiction is the best place, because the difference between a fiction writer and a non-fiction writer is a fiction writer tells you honestly, this is bullshit, but it's still good for you. The non-fiction writer lies to you. They tell you that it's the truth. They tell you that it's wisdom. And it might still be good for you, but they're starting with a lie. At least with fiction, You kind of the fiction writer takes their moral lessons, their philosophy, their observations of a society, and they kind of sprinkle it like a seasoning inside of an engaging story. The self-help writer just writes a really shitty analogy because they're not really good writers. In fiction, that's where you find vocabulary. It's food for your mind, absolutely. As well, like the fiction writer puts more flow into the words, hopefully good grammar, and feeling, which is an important part of it because language is very visual. And most language that you will use is unconscious. So in a fiction book, you will read a scene or a text or anything, but you'll be seeing it visually with emotion. And then what happens in life is when you're experiencing that in your life, your brain understands some language that you learned in the past that's used to describe that exact situation. That's not language that you can use day to day. Most, if not all, of the language we learn is not for us to use. We have a small little box of words that we use to describe our world. Most of the language is so that when people describe their world to you, you're able to understand it. You're able to listen to their stories. You're able to follow their stories. And you're able to interact, with that small little box of words that you use every single day to describe your environment and to move in and out of your different tribes. So let's come back here. We have, at the end here, the FF. So we have cough, rough, the opposite is smooth, tough, something is strong and so forth. My dog is not tough. No, he's not. He's a pussy. Laugh. Ha 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 ha. Here we look at a participle. The past participle of fight is what? Fought. The past participle of taught, the past participle of teach is taught. Oh shit, this is silent. Fuck, can't. All right, yeah, don't listen to me. The past participle of catch is caught, which is caught, which these three belonged in the other examples, Kian. Stop confusing these poor people who are watching this nonsense. These three belonged here. Fought, caught, and taught. And here, when they're at the end of the word, of course, they'll create an FF sound. Cough, rough, tough, and laugh. Is there a rule that you can use to make it easier? No. No, it's just trial and error. That's all it is trial and error. The beautiful thing about pronunciation is that you just need to hear people speak it. So that means you have to go out looking for conversations or audiobooks. Audiobooks, like I said, are books in general are brilliant. Buy my books. But an audiobook, which I don't have. Actually, no, I do. I got fucking shit on here that you can I have short story readings on this channel that you can go from my last book, my latest novel called Self-Titled, a bunch of existential fairy tales and contos existenciais por adultos, existential fairy tales for adults. You can go and listen to them now and follow along as I'm reading them to hear the pronunciation. But in that's it. If you want to improve your pronunciation, you have to watch movies, you have to listen to music, you have to, music's difficult because sometimes I pronounce things wrong for the sake of rhyming or for the sake of literal, but either way, you have to go out and find it. You have to listen to it. Meeting people, talking to people, listen to movies, listen to audiobooks. That's the only way to improve your understanding of pronunciation. That's it. And that's it. That's all for this video. It's a short and sweet. Thank you very much. As always, love the people who love you. Everybody else is just a piece of shit. Thank you.